All right, Texans back at practice today. A little bit of news to start the morning. It is SNL, Landry Locker, Cody Stoots. We're both on the scene. Subscribe to the Locker Room. Subscribe to Cody's channel. Subscribe to SNL, all podcast platforms, as well as right here. Shout out to everyone getting ready for the divisional round game in which the Texans are still an 8-point underdog. Let's start with the news. We kind of touched on the awkward situation in the locker room after the Texans win. Diontae Johnson noticeably upset, kind of pouty. We talked about it on Monday. Thought maybe he's going to get a chance to get his mind right and figure something out. Well, that's not the case. Diontae Johnson was waived today. Overall reaction to the Diontae Johnson experiment gone wrong.
Oh, he's going to get a chance to get his mind right. Just not on the Houston Texans. See you later. Look, I had a high belief that this was going to be different for him, even though this was the same old song and dance from Pittsburgh and Carolina and Baltimore. Like, he'd been the same guy in those three spots. None of those teams wanted to have anything to do with him. And I thought, surely, fourth team in 6 months and a playoff contender, a chance to go out there, and if you just pick it up, you should be a guy that they trust and at least get the football to. And he didn't pick it up. He couldn't line up right in the game against the Chargers. You saw Stroud have to basically flip the play to get him correct. He almost ran into Nico Collins on his touchdown pass. And then he's a crybaby about not getting the ball. Come on, dude. Like, I had faith this was going to be different. It wasn't. See you later. This was my thing, is if he doesn't work, it's nothing. You just say goodbye. Like, there's no harm, no foul. It's not like he just like ruined anything. Like, they tried to fix it. He was pouty about it. See you later, bud.
It was actually one of the more pathetic displays that I've seen in my time covering football, because you have perhaps the weakest wide receiver room in the league, active, 2 down. You've already you've already had your like eye-opening moments where you refuse to go on the field for the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry chasing their first Super Bowl ring. You refuse to even go on the field to where they got rid of you. Pittsburgh got rid of you to where Mike Tomlin won't even mention your name. And Mike Tomlin, they've dealt with George Pickens. They're pretty patient in Pittsburgh. Those are 2 winning organizations. And then it's like, well, maybe winning organizations just don't work for him. He was on the worst team in football in the Carolina Panthers, and it couldn't work there. As a matter of fact, as soon as he left, Bryce Young started playing really damn good. And I don't know whether that's the reason or not, but he started playing a lot better, probably because he didn't have to deal with that crap. I'm sure that kind of sprinkled into it. So I just think it was pathetic. I thought it was really, really embarrassing for him that he was actually upset. Like, the entire team is like smoking cigars and celebrating and bonding,
dunking on Rex Ryan and
winning and all that. And he's sitting over there crying. I don't think I'd ever seen a player that disappointed, even going back to like the Texans, like losing playoff games. I've covered every playoff game they've lost for a long, long time and been in the locker room when they've lost. I've never seen someone that upset. So I just think the guy's an idiot, and maybe he can figure out a way not to be an idiot. I just don't know how to lay out the right situation for the guy, because if he couldn't make it work in this situation and he's acting that way in that situation, there's not really much to really say about the guy. He's a bozo. I mean, that's what he is. He's a bozo, and the Texans aren't the only team that got tired of the guy being a bozo.
Yeah, and like I had a belief in him. I was one of his biggest supporters, and I hope he never plays in the NFL again. See you later.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna.
I mean, think about the. So we saw Aziz talking to him after the game, and then Adam Schefter had more seasoning to it that Joe Mixon talked to him. You saw Mixon talk to him. I didn't. I was at D'Amico initially. So think about the 2 guys that go and talk to you. Joe Mixon, who's played for a Super Bowl, and is Mr. like, let's get it right. Let's focus. Let's take care of our business. And Aziz Al-Shire, the guy that everybody talks about, has these incredible speeches to get the team pumped up, and everybody likes him, and was immediately a captain and a leader and all these things. And you're over there, you won't And he wasn't even looking at his Z's either. Like, get out of here. See you later. Here's your opportunity. You wasted it. Adios. You fumbled it like John Mechie fumbled the first offensive snap.
Yeah, and the other thing about it is, like, you didn't even really have to do much this year. If anything, you could just be with the guys. Maybe you don't contribute early on, but you at least have like an ideal-ish situation, because next year the Texans, like, the only receivers they have under contract that are actually going to play are Nico Collins, or try to make team. Nico Collins, Xavier Hutchinson, and John Mechie. Like, those are the only guys. Diggs is probably gone. We don't think Tank Dell's going to play. So it's kind of laid out. It's just, it's actually pretty pathetic on his end. It's embarrassing. So
yeah, see you later.
Not a big deal. Wasn't worth like a full video. And Diontae Johnson gone. Then we have Cade Stover. And before we get to the Cade Stover news, let's go to the super chat. Zach Rose. He says Diontae is the nail in the tire. Shout out to SNL. Shout out to you, my friend.
I mean, he's not even really that. He's like when you spill a drink in the car. It's like, that's all right. We'll fix it up. We'll clean it up.
Sometimes that's a painful experience. Very painful. But Cade Stover goes to injured reserve. We talked to someone who said it might have been on the last series of the game. I guess he kind of laid someone out or something like that, and maybe there was a little bit of pain there. Yeah. But he's going to IR. So Cade Stover's season is donezo. Damn shame.
So here, my concern is like he was the only. It felt like he was the only tight end that was kind of like in a groove a little bit. Like it felt like he was kind of getting his business done, like
groove,
blocking, as groovy as the tight ends can get, you know. So I mean, he caught a couple passes from CJ. He didn't look like he was laboring to run.
Yeah, I mean, the tight end position's a problem. I think even had he been there, I think the tight end position should be something that they proactively look into. I wonder if maybe we get some Quitoriano action. I think it's very possible. Quitoriano could be the next thing that they look at. I mean, they've looked at this 100 times. I don't think that's like something with a extremely high ceiling. But I think that's possible.
Stover had a higher ceiling than Quitoriano.
Yeah, so we'll see how that looks. We'll see what they do. I've said this 100 times. I'm very annoyed by the lack of production that Joe Mixon has had in the pass game. I think it's unforgivable. I think it's inexcusable. I think it's the second or third least amount of receptions he has in his 7 seasons where he played the majority of the games. I think they need to figure something out there. But it could be Quitoriano. Who knows? The problem is, and I think D'Amico's kind of backhanded, like said stuff about Bobby Slowick and maybe even CJ Stroud this week. This might be me kind of like just reading.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Well, I mean, he's talked about how Patrick Mahomes is willing to take what the defense gives him. He's willing to throw it to guys a little bit sooner. It doesn't matter who's in there. They seem to find ways to get the job done, and I think that's the complete opposite of the Texans. I don't think CJ Stroud consistently dumps it down to guys. I think that might have as much to do with the Mixon thing as possible. I don't think that Bobby Slowick finds ways to get the job done, whether guys are healthy or not. So I think some of the praise that D'Amico gives the Chiefs is stuff that the Texans lack. I don't know that he has like some sort of like calculated goal by saying it, but I think everything that he says that they have that is a small thing that any team with any personnel can control, I think it's stuff that the Texans offense lacks.
Well, I mean, it's funny that CJ has talked all year about, I got to take what's there, even rehashed a conversation he had with Tua where Tua was like, yeah, take what's there. And he basically hasn't done that except for when the offense looks good. Like when the offense looks good, he is taking what is there. But there's been so many times this year where he hasn't. He's held on to the ball too long. He's tried to make too much happen. But when he does, the offense actually looks good. So he should actually execute some of the advice that he's been given and what he says he's going to do. And the offense will look better than it has at different times.
And I also think he should use his legs more.
Absolutely.
And he was asked about that. He kind of said he thought he's done that this year. He mentioned the Jets game where he had whatever yards. That should be a consistent thing from this point moving forward, especially as your weapons kind of decline. The other thing about like the Texans missing weapons, and maybe this is kind of ass backwards thinking by me, but every time I hear about like Tank's injury or I hear about Diggs' injury or Cade Stover, I'm sure they're going to say that's missed, or Brevin Jordan. I think that it's kind of a cop-out because at no point in this season, no matter who they had in there, has this offense looked like a high-functioning unit.
Nope.
Like even when they were winning games at full strength, the guys on that offense, literally the guys on that offense were saying, it kind of leaves a little bit to be desired. We kind of need to do a little bit more. And then, obviously you would rather have your full strength, but they haven't done it at any point this year. And that's kind of the issue with the Kansas City situation is they haven't really had that good of an offense. Like if you were just blinded and you all of a sudden got an assignment and it was like, hey, go cover this Kansas City Chiefs team and go cover this Texans team. And you're trying to kind of like cram and do research. Like Kansas City's offense has not been that good. Like their red zone offense is bottom third of the league, I think, or the bottom 10-ish. The points per game, it's not that much different than the Texans. The yardage, not that much different. But they haven't had their full allotment of guys. So I think they can kind of hang their hat on that. I think that's kind of the scary thing. My trust level in this Texans offense has not increased at all based on what we saw last game. It was nice to see the switch flipped. But as far as like just confidence that this offense is good or even serviceable or capable of not putting the defenses back against the wall to where they have to be bailed out, sorry, it hasn't increased.
Well, they've got to be as good as they were against the Chargers and probably better to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's just the level that they've got to get to. The defense has to be excellent. Probably can't have the exact same game against the Chiefs that you had against the Chargers. Mahomes ain't throwing you 4 interceptions like Herbert did, where things just fold in on itself and the guy just melts down against you. That's not happening with Patrick Mahomes as the other quarterback. So the offense has to give you something. And they got to give you something early. Like you got to be able to.
How does that make you feel, though? How does that make you feel? Like obviously they have to, but how does that make you feel?
It's a Herculean task. It's very hard for them to do. I mean, and it comes down to C.J. Stroud eliminating a lot of his mistakes. As much as we want to talk about this guy or that guy, or Mechie can't catch, or Dalton Schultz can't get open, or the offensive line can't block, like. C.J. Stroud threw 2 bad interceptions in the first game against Kansas City.
No, and I think it's kind of relatable. Like working with you is easy, sir. Like if you need to carry me, you can carry me. If there's times when I need to carry you, I can carry you. And I feel like it's a good collaboration and it's nice. But there've been times in my career where there's a dumbass who doesn't even like watch the game. He doesn't do anything, and it's just kind of the cards you're dealt. And he doesn't know anything, and he doesn't follow the game. Like. I can either just sit there and say, well, this guy sucks, or you could have to elevate your play and do what you're capable of. And I think a lot of people can work. Like if you're someone that works on a freight, like if you work at FedEx and let's say you have a 2-man crew and you have a truck a night or whatever, and you have to load it. If that guy's a chump, it doesn't matter if you lower your level of play. If you're capable, you have to elevate your play to put out a good product and finish the job. And I don't expect John Mechie. I know there's some jokes in the chat. I don't expect John Mechie to go out there and provide what you would hope a number 2 wide receiver would provide. I don't expect Xavier Hutchinson to, over the course of a game, give you consistent playmaking. I don't expect this offensive line to protect C.J. Stroud like C.J. Stroud needs to be protected. I don't expect them to run block consistently. I don't expect Dalton Schultz to be able to block and provide the explosiveness that you want from a tight end. We might get that stuff in doses, but I do think it's fair based on expectations and based on what needs to happen. It's not ideal. You don't want this to be the case, but C.J. Stroud, check down when you need to check down. C.J. Stroud, see the corner blitz. C.J. Stroud, use your legs. C.J. Stroud, put these guys that don't have the talent you do in certain positions. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's a recipe for success. I'm not even saying that there's many quarterbacks that could deal with this. Like if you put Patrick Mahomes in this situation and you put CJ Stroud on the Chiefs, there's a chance the Chiefs are still favored and they still might win. Surroundings have something to do with it. But if I'm laying out what it's going to take to win this game, CJ Stroud's going to have to be up here. Is that fair? I don't know, but that is the reality of the situation. That's what he's going to have to do.
Yeah, they don't have another way to make it work. It's not like Joe Mixon can go in there and take this game over and Stroud has a bad day. Like that's not going to happen against this Kansas City defense. And they're not going to shut out the Kansas City Chiefs. If you were playing the Steelers this week, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, doesn't matter how good CJ is going to be because the Steelers aren't scoring. Like, well, that's not the case. You're playing the Chiefs in Kansas City. You have to score. You can't make mistakes because they'll take advantage of it. And the play's got to be at a very high level. But you knew that going into this matchup against the Chiefs.
Fair. Is it the ideal? Is it impossible task? Maybe it is. Even if CJ Stroud is perfect, it might be an impossible task. There's a reason that they've only lost one game that they've tried to win. But if you're going to lay out realistic expectations of what it looks like, CJ has to be really, really good.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that you have to have a shootout. He has to be really, really good. You can't take a sack and lose 7 yards. Instead, you got to check down and get the 2. You got to make it 2nd and 8 instead of 2nd and 17. You got to take opportunities with your legs. You can't miss. The margin for error is small, and it's even smaller for CJ Stroud. That's just kind of where it is. You do have the defense, though, and they have bailed this team out time after time after time. So that's the good thing. Sam says on Check the Mic, Sam M on Check the Mic today said Bobby Slowick is the reason they won, not Straw. My jaw hit the floor. I thought Bobby didn't call a crappy game the other day. I thought outside of the Joe Mixon double pass, I thought that was a pretty decent game by Bobby Slowick. Now, Stroud did help, obviously, but maybe I'm decreasing the expectations. I didn't think Slowick was awful, but I don't think the reason they won was the defense.
The reason they won was the defense, and they finally did enough on offense. Also, I mean, you got to get Nico Collins involved before the second quarter, Bobby.
Yeah, I wonder if is that a CJ thing? Like CJ has options, and they're taking him out. I don't know, but a bubble screen to Nico Collins is a hell of a lot more desirable than a bubble screen to John Mechie to start the game.
You could run a bubble, and you know how much I hate screens. I think sideways football is losing football. You could run 10 screens in a row to Nico Collins before you throw the ball to John Mechie, and I'd be fine with it.
Yeah, I'm with you. But yeah, the trust level in the offense, it's not high. The defense is the strength. That's how they're going to figure it out.
Also, I wonder if there's a little like old PFF brotherhood crap going on back there. Sam Munson's like, oh, yeah, Bobby was the reason they won. Oh.
And he worked at PFF for 2 years.
Yeah. I wonder if there's some old PFF brotherhood going on back there.
Interesting theory by you that I don't hate.
Yeah.
Do not hate. So Juice Scruggs, we got the injury report. Juice Scruggs did not practice with the ankle. Neither did Robert Woods. Neither did Shaq Mason, and neither did Azeez Al-Shire. I got thoughts on all these. Will Anderson's going to go. Danico Autry's going to go. Nick Broker, don't know. Nico Collins is going to go. Tegan Quinturiano, I would think he's probably going to be elevated.
He's probably getting Cade Stover's roster spot.
But thoughts on Juice Scruggs being a little bit banged up and not practicing?
If Scruggs can't go, then they're going to have to put Kendrick Green at right guard because Shaq Mason's not going this week. I mean, he's not even like, at least Scruggs was at practice. Shaq's not at practice. Shaq's still doing whatever side work or warm up work or whatever it is. Like Shaq Mason's not playing this week. So if it's not Juice Scruggs, it's Kendrick Green. And, that was good for about 4 plays in Kansas City. And then things went sideways on his ass. So not great if it's got to be Kendrick Green, or maybe it's Kenyon Green and nobody wants that. So
on the right side,
you're running out of options here. You're running out of options. Kenyon played right guard in college for a little bit. So, but yeah, Scruggs is the one that I'm looking at the most and worried about the most. Everybody else who did not practice. I mean, we're telling you Mason's not going, so don't worry about that. And then Woods and Alshire, I'm not worried about either of those guys missing.
Yeah, Alshire did a one-on-one with Will Kunkel today for Fox, and our theory has always been, and we've always maintained, and if you follow this channel, you know, because we say what we say on our shows. We don't necessarily like. You knew about the Diontae Johnson thing if you listened to SNL on Monday, but they don't typically let guys speak if they're not going to play unless they're doing some sort of BS with like the mixing thing. I think Azeez is good to go. I think they're just being smart with that. The other thing I'll say about this, Christian Harris, he was moving full speed fast. Like this was probably the best I've seen Christian Harris move. So that was really we always go into practice, and when we're at the fence, we're like, all right, Cody, what are we looking for? We always say that, like, what are we looking for? Today, mine was, okay, Christian Harris only played a handful of snaps. Like, is something up with him? And I'll be damned, I look over during drills, the dude's backpedaling full speed, running full speed, finishing, all that, and he's not even on the injury report. So I think that kind of speaks to just how good To'oto'o's been this year, how much they like Azeez, and just Miles Bryant actually did a decent job in the nickel. It wasn't just like you had to have traditional linebackers. And I also think the personnel is a little bit different. I think Christian against the Chiefs, I think there's probably more value to having those 3 linebacker sets than against the Chargers. So Azeez, I think, goes. Christian looks fine, like as fast as I've seen him this year. So I'm not too concerned about the linebacking position. The Scruggs thing, man, he just has trouble staying healthy.
Yeah, he's just not the healthiest of offensive linemen. And I mean, he even said to us after the game on Saturday, I can go get my ankle worked on. Okay. So
yeah, well,
get better.
That'd be sick, dude. They just get to go in that room, get the massage, then go get in the hot tub. I would be if I were a player, I'd be in that hot tub for like 2 hours after the game.
Would they
let me light one up in there?
Probably not.
What would they say if I were a player? What if I were a star and I just sat in the hot tub and I was just like,
I mean, if you're a star, you can do whatever you want, pretty much.
So I could just light up some
high-grade marijuana called Kush on the streets.
And they would say nothing to me. I'd be good.
I mean, you'd have to be really good.
No, like what if I was like,
I think there's about 5 guys on the Texans that could do that.
What if I was Daniil Hunter?
No.
What if I was Will Anderson?
Yes.
What if I was Nico Collins?
Yes.
CJ?
Yes.
Tunsil?
Yes.
Gas mask instead of the Bleezy. What if I was Azeez?
They would
get favorable treatment. They would let Azeez get away with it.
They would let Azeez do it.
What about Christian Harris?
No.
Stingley?
They would let Stingley do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Tommy Townsend?
No.
Fairbairn? He's been there for a while.
No.
Weeks?
No.
What about Frank Ross?
No. Although
that's the most elite thing they got going, man.
Although if you want to talk about special teams coaches and getting high, back in the day when Izzo was the guy.
Oh God.
A lot of rumors about him headed on to the team plane, and everyone's like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's not surprising. Wes Welker might have partaken as well. Shout out to the Phi Delts at Texas Tech. I'm just saying, though.
Oh, Larry Izzo still in the playoffs, actually. He's the special teams coordinator for the Commanders.
Damn. Look at him and look at them. All right, so other talking points. D'Amico today, I asked him about weather. He basically said, can't control it, can't be a big deal, yada, yada. He basically minimized the weather thing. I don't think it's something that you minimize. I think it's a pain in the ass.
Well, the guy to ask about the weather is Frank Ross, because he can explain exactly what occurs with the footballs and how that changes things. And you can't kick as far in the cold weather.
Well, Tommy Townsend does know that field a little bit, and he does know the weather a little bit.
Yep.
Maybe there's an element there. Who knows? What about the and then you asked about the refs, which I thought was interesting.
Oh,
you
man.
about the refs.
I
think it's another. I like the way you asked too.
I asked the question a very particular way because I didn't want to paint D'Amico Ryans into a corner for how he had to answer the referee question. But I asked him, when you, like, as a head coach, what is your interaction with the referees before the game? And how do you interact with referees during the game? Because obviously the referees are a huge talking point going to Kansas City, the way the Texans got screwed last time. And D'Amico Ryans, he pulled out the Betty Crocker and he buttered up these officials, man.
Oh yeah, he was kissing that booty.
He talked about how great the communication's been all season long, and they come in before and talk to the coaches and explain, hey, this is what we've been seeing. This is, do you have any questions for us? And how great the officials have been about answering questions in the game. And it's a good tactic by him. You butter up the officials, try to curry a little favor going against their favorite team, the Kansas City Chiefs. So,
Geo Central on the chat says Weeks can light up. He thinks you're. By the way, where the hell has he been lately?
I'm probably getting treatment. He's in his 40s.
Dude, he's never even in the locker room anymore when we go in there.
He's probably got to set the special teams meetings up.
The specialists get out of there. They just get out of there so quickly.
He's got to put the 3 chairs in the right spot. He's got to put Frank's chair in the right spot.
Townsend, Fairbairn, and all of them. They just get out of there very quickly now.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly. Weeks is gone. Weeks looks tired all the time now. I know he's got 2 daughters, and one of them's quite the handful. And I know Amanda's always kind of.
Damn it, not Betty Crocker, Country Crock. Betty Crocker's the cake lady. Yeah, butter.
But he's he always seems tired now, Weeks.
Well, yeah. He's been at this for a long time. And they've been going since the middle of July. And they didn't have anybody come in and take the workload off of him like they did a couple of different times.
Yeah, that happens. For sure. So the other element of this thing, this is going to be Titus Howard, and this has to be the most that he's faced someone at guard, I would assume. This is going to be his 3rd meeting against Chris Jones. 3rd one.
How often do you come across an interaction with Chiefs fans, Landry?
Often. They're very, very passionate.
They're also kind of dumb.
I don't want to generalize, but they're
pretty dumb because they keep saying Chris Jones didn't play the last time the Texans played the Chiefs.
Yeah,
he did. Yes, he did.
But he got hurt.
But he played.
He got hurt. But yeah, I would agree with that. He didn't play. I mean, playoff Chris Jones is different than regular season Chris Jones. We all know that.
Yep.
That's not a thing. But yeah, they're passionate, good fans.
Kind of dumb. Not as dumb as Chargers fans. Chargers fans are really dumb.
So you think Chargers fans? What are those? They have those?
All 8 of them. I heard from them last week.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about Chargers. Yeah, Chiefs are rowdy. I would say they have a little bit of a. If I'm being fair,
they have a superiority complex, rightfully so.
They have a little bit of Astros in them. They have a little bit of Astros Twitter in them. I'll be honest with you. It's a little bit familiar, my friend. So I'm not going to throw stones in the glass house. I would say it's a little bit similar.
Yeah.
Long success. Us against the world. Although everybody really did hate the Astros. I don't think the Chiefs are as hateable as a lot of teams that have had that much success yet. I think there's a little bit of hate.
They're as hateable as they've ever been, though. The hate's growing. With the referee stuff, the Taylor Swift stuff.
Taylor Swift still going to games?
Yep. She is. She'll probably be there on Saturday.
How many times did they show her? What's the over-under on that?
They only showed her once last time, right?
I get. Who does she sit by now? Is she still sitting with Mama Kelsey or what?
Well, yeah, because they're not at Eagles games anymore.
And they don't. Do they still sit with the Mahomes?
In the box?
Yeah,
I think so.
Brittany and
although I got to imagine she's
Brittany
probably
just had a baby. She might not go.
She's gonna be at the home. She's gonna be at the house probably.
She got to be, right?
Yeah.
You can't bring the newborn there, right?
That's quite the environment. A baby, yes. Newborn, probably not.
4 days old. Yeah, the new baby will be. Hopefully, I mean, you think she lets Patrick sleep downstairs or what? Does he still have to sleep in the bed with the baby crying?
I feel like she probably does everything she can to make sure the football stuff's still good.
Yeah, she gets it. She's been down since like he was on JV and stuff, so she knows what's up. Yeah. Stone alone 5 times on the soup says, I really hope our O-line holds up and protects CJ better. Yeah, I mean, that's very important. And I hope that CJ is able to kind of feel the pressure a little bit. Like you almost have to like anticipate which direction it's coming from. I think there's got to be some proactive nature to that as well.
I feel like one play that he's talked about now at this point 2 times that is an important play is the interception play. And he's brought it up multiple times now. And he's talked about how he should have taken off running both of those times. And I wonder if he's just a little bit more aware of not the sideways running, not the extend the play running, but the take off, make a play running. And if that is the case, you can limit some of that pressure and some of those sacks by, stealing 3-4 yards by trying to take off.
It's got to be a normal thing, man. We'll see how that goes. Tomorrow we're talking to Bobby Slowick. I'm going to ask Bobby about the Mixon receiving angle. I'm going to come with some numbers because I really just want to know why is Joe Mixon not catching the ball more? Third fewest or second fewest outside of the season that he played 6 games receptions that Joe Mixon has had. He had more receptions the last 2 years when Chase and Higgins were elite and they had Boyd than he does in this offense. I don't understand it. I want Bobby Slowick to help me understand that.
Okay. I have a hunch you will be disappointed with his answer.
I am very, very concerned.
Damn it, Bobby.
That he might say that Joe Mixon's been a valuable part of their passing offense and he feels they've done a good job in getting him involved.
Oh, is he going to do one of those, like, he actually is really high in receiving yards?
Yes, I'm very concerned about that. And I don't want Bobby to look bad, but I'm concerned about that. Matt Burke's also going to speak. Cody will probably ask him who knows what. Who knows? Something about, I don't know, like tackling and Arrowhead versus NRG. Who knows? And then
why would I ask that? Like, what? I don't understand. I feel like I asked Matt Burke good questions.
Yeah, for sure. And then Frank Ross will also speak. And he's just going to be juiced up and ready to go. And he'll be asked about that 2-point conversion block. How nice was that? Hey, talk about how awesome D'Angelo Ross has been for your special teams and the guys that don't get a lot of credit.
Yeah, I'm going to ask him about the cold weather.
You can ask him about what, like how much more difficult it is?
What is the cold weather? Does the cold weather affect the distance that the ball travels?
Okay. Looking forward to it. Pumped.
Well, why don't you go take a hike when Burke and Frank are talking, and you can just sit there and start typing up your tweet about what Bobby Slowick said about Joe Mixon's receiving yards.
I told you
go work on that, and then the rest of us can talk to Burke and Ross.
The conversation I wanted to have with Matt Burke, I had with Matt Burke. 5-minute conversation. I waited till after the press conference because I didn't want to hear any crap about it. Because there's the people try to act football hardo with Matt Burke like you. I asked Matt.
I don't try to act football hardo with Matt Burke. I ask a question that I have a use for, and then I use it, and it goes somewhere. Some people ask questions, Landry, and it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
it's just a question to be asked.
That's not me. I don't need to hear myself. If I don't have a question, I'll ask a question. But the question I wanted to know from Matt Burke was, what subject would you teach if you were an old school high school teacher? Because he's Ivy League and he's crazy. And he flexed on me. He had to show his academic dong right there. He said that he aced the math part of the SAT, the old school 1600 SAT, but he also had been an English teacher before as one of his first jobs. So he basically said, whatever I want, I can teach. But I was wondering about that.
Where do
So
you
it's
think
only
Joe Mixon ranks in running back receiving yards this year?
30th, 35th,
20th.
20th. Okay. Yards. What about receptions?
Receptions,
Does he-
21st.
yeah. I mean, it's the third fewest or whatever. Like, is there any desire to kind of get Mixon involved in the receiving game? Would be what I would ask.
Did you know that Achane was going to be this good catching the ball? He had 600 receiving yards.
Dude, I don't know. I didn't think he was this good of a receiver, but he's got some stuff. I thought that James Cook would be the best. Now James Cook's like a good between the tackles guy. Like that was the biggest knock on James Cook when he came out, and I wanted James Cook when they drafted Mechie. That's who I wanted. I wanted James Cook bad, but in fairness, I want every running back. So take that bullshit with a grain of salt,
James Cook outside the top 25 of receiving yards.
dude. Because they've turned him into a real runner. Like that was the biggest knock, his size, and that he's not a between the tackles guy. All he is Georgia. At Georgia, he's more of a receiver, and I'll be damned. Buffalo's turned him into a damn, like his over under on like catches is like 2. Like it every week, like on the props, like they've turned they saw past that and they've turned him into that. You know, of all the teams that won this weekend, I'm not even counting on Monday.
Okay.
Every team delved in that favorable running back market except Buffalo and except the Rams. And they draft running backs pretty much every year, though, and kind of keep them going. But they had Cook and they had Williams. The Rams, it doesn't matter who their running back is. They're everything that you want from that system. But they had, like, everybody else, like, went into that running back market. Texans with Mixon, Ravens with Derrick Henry, Washington with Eckler, and then the Eagles obviously with Saquon. Like this stacked ass running back group. Everybody that dove into it. And you know the craziest thing, the biggest beneficiary of it, dude. If Jalen Hurts didn't have Saquon Barkley, there would be a massive amount of heat on that.
Oh, if he didn't have Saquon Barkley, I am not sure they're still playing. They probably lose their first matchup. They're probably in an unfavorable matchup and lose their first matchup.
Yep.
I'm picking the Rams, by the way.
I'm hesitant. I'm not trying to disagree. I'm hesitant. Big Matthew Stafford guy.
Also, this rookie running back class, it was not as fun as it was supposed to be.
Was it supposed to be fun?
I feel like there was some guys that
You're talking like on the day 2 guys?
Yeah, like I just feel like this rookie rushing class was supposed to have a little bit more juice to it, and I feel like there was only like 3 guys that were really good.
Well, all the teams that took him already had backs.
Yeah, I mean,
Brooks tore his ACL, but all the teams basically like stockpiled on the backs that already had backs.
it is so funny you say that. All the teams that took him already had backs. The top 4 guys all went to teams that already had backs. Bucky Irving, he was awesome this year. He went 4 picks after Cade Stover.
Yeah. And they had White. Like if White does that, like on most teams, they don't draft a running back. They drafted Bucky Brooks anyways, and he's better.
Yeah, Bucky Irving, yeah. Tyrone Tracy, they signed Devin Singletary. Tyrone Tracy, second in rushing yards for rookies.
Pretty good.
Ray Davis is third. They had James Cook.
He's behind Cook, yeah.
Isaac Garindo, fourth. They had Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason. And then Braylon Allen was 5. They had Breece Hall.
The Packers signed Jacobs and drafted a running back, and the Dolphins had Achane and Mostert, and they still drafted a running back.
I mean,
in the draft.
Like literally, like Denver had Estimate. Well, they already had Javonte Williams. Arizona had James Conner. They drafted Benson. Like the time to draft a running back is when you already have one, not when you need one.
Yes, because you don't want to put too much on him. But yeah, it's.
By the way, loaded running back class this year.
Yeah, you know, I want one every round. You know how Want one every round.
We'll find you 7 different ones, one for each round.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm in. Sign me up.
Love
I
it.
need at least 2, always. All right. So tomorrow, the coordinator, Stoots, is going to get his football question in for Matt Burke. And
well, you just go in the bathroom after Bobby answers your Joe Mixon question. You go handle that business over there in the bathroom. Joe Mixon caught another pass.
what was that? I want to talk to Jared Patterson tomorrow.
I feel like Jay Pat have some good stuff to say.
There we go. All right. Appreciate you for coming through. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. Be sure to always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.